Hello and welcome to join me as we explore the capital of Iceland, Reykjavík. My name is Gylfi and I will be your guide through not only the actual capital but the complete metropolitan area, since not all know that it is in fact 8 towns and 6 municipalities. But we Icelanders, like others, tend to call the whole package Reykjavík. And this is episode number 2, where I cover a town called Mosfellsbær, where the best stories of gold and silver can be found in Iceland. As usual, we start the journey on a map, and the municipality Mosfellsbær covers a rather large area that used to be called the Mosfellssveit, or Mosfell County. And the name Mosfellsbær, or Mosfell Town, derives from a mountain called Mosfell, situated in a valley called Mosfellsdalur. And yes, again, named after the mountain Mosfell. And that is where our story starts, with one of the famous old Icelandic sagas, or the saga of Egill Skallagrímsson, the Viking war poet, sorcerer, berserker, and a farmer. And after his travels as a warrior, he returns to Iceland, where he lives into his 80s, and before he dies, he buries his silver treasure near Mosfellsbær. And still today, it hasn't been found. So the name of Egill Skallagrímsson is still very much alive here in Iceland. Not only did we name this orange drink after him, the whole factory bears his name, in fact, or Ölgerð Egils Skallagrímssonar, or Egils Brewery, to make it simple. And he wasn't the only creative person to settle here. Further up in the valley, we find the home of Halldór Laxness, an Icelandic writer and the winner of the 1955 Nobel Prize in Literature. Halldór was and still is a legend in Iceland, and he liked to smoke cigars, even during TV interviews. And after he passed away, the Icelandic state bought his home and turned it into a museum. But let's move to modern times, at the other side of the town, and explore it from this location by the town boundary just beside Reykjavík. Mosfellsbær is often called the Green Town, and it's the home of 13,000 people. It has always been a bit more separated from the capital area than other larger municipalities around, and the reason is the location. It used to be around 5 minutes drive to the city limits from the town, but today this looks more like a continuous residential area, so within a few years we won't see the boundaries. But as we enter the town from Reykjavík, we find one of the landmarks, or this little church that has a long history that dates back to the 16th century. I gave it a thought to dive into the church history, but I found myself instantly in such a wealth of information that it reminded me about that we are a nation of storytellers, extreme storytellers in many cases. And that is what I ran into instantly with this church, or to pick out the main points from all the information out there. So I'm only going to say now that this little old church is still in full service and often used for weddings, since it's a kind of romantic little place. And the church hill is a good place to take a look at the Snæfellsnes Peninsula and the glacier-covered volcano Snæfellsjökull, who many believe to be one of the largest energy sources on Earth. And there are many other good sightseeing spots in town, which in my opinion is one of the best places in the capital region. And what I like the most about it is the closeness to nature. From here, I'm only a few minutes away from good Northern Light sightseeing places, and I just love to be able to get out of town fast. But on the downside for the town, Iceland's highway number 1, leading to West and North Iceland, cuts the town apart with heavy traffic, but it will get better when a new highway with tunnels and bridges will be built in the coming years, moving the highway to the north. But to help you to figure out where we are at any given time through this video, I will be navigating through this viewpoint from now. We are straight above the church, so you can see well the town's structure and such as we move from here. This is a valley where we started, and this will be my next flight line, or over some of the older parts of town. But they don't look that old though, and many of the people that live here, they drive to Reykjavík to work. And I know quite many people who live in the town, and they all say the same. What keeps them here is the luxury to have everything that the city offers, but after the workday, it doesn't take them that long time to get back to the countryside. That is the main privilege. Get rid of the traffic in the city, the noise, and overall how dynamic the city is, which is both good and bad, of course. So we find a kind of small town spirit here. And the people around here, they don't see the town as a part of Reykjavík. But back to the overview shot. And let's move up to this area here. Quite many companies are based here, but I can't say that this is a strong job market though. But when we look around, you see this ridge there. And behind it, we find the first and only gold mine in Iceland. It was in operation during the early 1900s, and there has been some gold prospecting in Iceland recently with some success, but it's still on experimental stages to confirm if it's enough gold to take the project to the next stage. And as far as we know now, gold has been found at several locations, which is a surprise since we were led to believe that Iceland was too young country to have formed pockets of gold. But like with the rest of the geology of Iceland, we are always learning something new. But the true gold mine for a town, open for all Icelanders, has to be this rehabilitation center that has been in operation since 1938 on this very hot geothermal area. And the hot water is in fact the third gold mine. But a considerable portion of the water is used to heat houses in Reykjavík since the 1930s. The first heated greenhouse in Iceland was built here in 1923, and in future they will need more of the water here locally since the town is expanding fast, and not just toward Reykjavík. The settlement has been growing uphill, like you see during the evening sun, and this is not bad location at all. And due to the unrest and volcanic eruptions on the Reykjanes Peninsula, which will for sure cause significant problems in the capital region, it is my prediction that the capital region will grow more into this direction. It is the wise thing to do for many reasons that I will list in my upcoming work about the volcanoes around the city. But let's move to the third settlement, down by the sea, and it has also been growing fast. This is how it looked 3 years ago as I drove by while making the first version of this town series, but I have replaced most of those videos already, but kept some of the footage to use, like now, because fully built, this same neighborhood looks like this, and I like this place by the seaside. They even have this small hobby airport there, but no docks. This is one of the extremely few towns in Iceland where you can't have a boat. And it's a bit lame, of course. The bay was, however, often mentioned in ancient stories. There used to be a shipping dock here, and a common route to Þingvellir, where Iceland's first parliament was situated, and is still today one of Iceland's most important tourist spots due to history and geology. And still, the main road to Þingvellir runs through the town and the valley where we started. So from here, farmers and parliament representatives headed to Þingvellir on horseback. And still today, horses are a big part of the lives of many families around here. And it's plenty of them around. So not far away from the seaside district, we find the horse district. And we do find similar districts within or near almost all Icelandic towns and villages. They come in all shapes and sizes. But this one looks especially well planned and neat. And this is how it looked while I drove through the other year. And I know that I will get comments about the Icelandic horse now. Or why don't you show us more of them? And don't worry about that. I've already shot a lot of such footage. But I just have to edit it in some context that I haven't found perfectly yet. But I'm getting there little by little. So hold your horses. It will all be online sooner than later. But let's move uptown again to this location, which is an interesting part of Iceland's industrial history. In 1896, a wool factory was built here, driven by water from the river that runs through this little canyon, and the wool factory would be a big part of the establishment and the growth of the settlement, and still today it is a big part of the town's soul. This is no longer the industrial area like it used to be, but we do find various artistic activities there in the old factory buildings. It's still the place to go and buy some wool or yarn, and one of the most famous rock bands in Iceland, Sigur Rós, they purchased an old swimming pool there and converted it into a sound studio, and furthermore, the Grammy-nominated blues rock band Kaleo was formed in this town by local guys, so creative people have always been around and still are. And to me, Mosfellsbær is a likeable town with a soul, although I can complain over the lack of a proper town center. But in fact, all the municipalities in the capital region have that same problem. It's like they never believed the idea that local shopping might grow big due to the proximity to Reykjavík. But it's getting a bit better now, like you will see later on in this series. But will this town merge with Reykjavík in future? That's a good question. But the voters in Reykjavík are all for it, according to polls. But the people around here, they say no way. And that can be explained by the residents' satisfaction with the municipality's services. They score big around here, but Reykjavík gets the worst results when it comes to service quality. So to merge Reykjavík and this town seems unlikely to me. But never say never though. There is no logical reason to pay for a complete set of politicians and bureaucrats. But again, Reykjavík has this service problem due to the bureaucracy there. And we don't want to spread it out too much, so we are stuck with this form. And if we leave the politics behind and move to common sense, I would like to see Reykjavík greener, like this town, with more open areas. But we tend to build the new districts very dense, which is something that we don't need, because we have plenty of building land. No worries there. And for me, it's places like this in the city land that I like the most. Just around 5 minutes drive from the so-called town center in Mosfellsbær, we find this lake, not far away from the old gold mine. And it's one of my sacred spots, where I go to see the northern lights, free from some of the light pollution, or using it as a background, like the blue beam from the Lennon Memorial Light, just by Reykjavík downtown. And even for the fact that I don't recommend Northern Lights sightseeing near the city, this is one of the very few usable spots around when I'm too lazy to drive further away. So I'm of course leaving a Google Map link to this location and reminding you about my full video about Northern Light hunting in Iceland. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from my home country. And please consider to subscribe and check out the links to my online stores and other methods to help me to make free information videos from each and every town in Iceland and much more.